But it's important that you understand what the word cancer is. It is so vital that those of you that have been diagnosed with that understand what you're up against and not what the medical doctors say you're up against. Because it's important to understand what a cell, what a damaged cell is, what a cancer cell is, and how does it get that way. And some of the insanity of their concepts of metastasizing. What is the universal link from, let's say, some lady that had ovarian cancer and now she has lung cancer? What's the link, though, between the two? There is a link. There's a link to, if you had 10 tumors in your body, is there a link to every one of them? Absolutely. If you have cancer in the brain, you have cancer in the heart, you have cancer in the toe. It doesn't matter where it is. It's from the same system.
Yep.
Same system. This is the same system no matter where you're looking. So that should dawn on people that, wait a minute, this lymphatic system is a system. This is a whole system in the body. And when you stop and pull back and you realize, wait a minute, our bodies are food processors. We process food all the time. We're processing energy all the time.
Yep.
We're processing chemistry all the time. And also to understand how all that is and how all that works, and that when you process chemistry, you create chemical byproducts and residues. Your car does it, everything does it. It does it in energy, it does it moving muscles. Every time you create movement and activity, you have energy involved and you have chemistry involved, and therefore you are burning energy, you're burning carbons and stuff, and then you have byproducts being spit off. It's the byproducts that we're talking about, metabolitic byproducts. You know, when they say, well, you got toxins in your body, you're detoxing. Why are you detoxing in the first place? Well, I'm going to get the toxins out of your body. What toxins are you talking about? Because you do absorb some toxins out of that's in the food, so let's say pesticides and herbicides, you can absorb those, no question. Small chemistry.
Right.
But most of the toxins man's really talking about are actually just metabolitic waste. Waste from the activity of cells.
Day-to-day life.
Day-to-day life. Me blinking, moving my lactic acid. Here I'm sitting here creating a lot of lactic acid, right?
Yep.
So the question is, all these byproducts of activity, of walking and talking and breathing, create acid residues. How do you get rid of these? Question. Answer that one, and you'll have and know the truth on that one, and you have all your answers. Because this is acidosis. Whenever a medical doctor says you've got Raynaud's, or you've got hypoglycemia, or you've got any type of MS, or you've got anything at all, fibromyalgia, what do you really have? What do you really have? They call this diseases. Let's say that word doesn't exist. The whole concept of diseases does not exist. When you have pain, what's going on here? How do we understand our problems here? And you have to simply start with the doorway that we're in. The doorway of the physical world is chemistry. That's the whole doorway. Everything here is chemistry. We're simply talking about waste products in your body that you cannot remove.
Everything is about balance. And it's not that we want to get rid of all the mucus in the body. We need some mucus. That's why we have mucous membranes. It's about balance. You don't want excess mucus. It's the same with acids. We need lactic acid. We need hydrochloric acid. We need certain types of acid to function. Estrogen, absolutely. It is the imbalance of those things. And when you are not eliminating like you're supposed to, and the lymphatic system gets backed up, it throws those balances out of proportion.
I think the key as you were talking here to understand that is that you have this sewer system that's responsible for removing the byproducts and waste of the human body. That is easy to understand. It is easy to understand that on this planet, you only have two sides of chemistry. There's only two sides to chemistry. You have to understand that, in my opinion. That's how simple. Kids can understand two. There's only two. Now, there's also only two types of foods. There's only two types of foods. Acid ash forming foods and alkaline ash forming foods. Absolutely. That matches the two sides of chemistry. You have the acid side of chemistry and you have the base side or the alkaline side of chemistry. The two sides. They're polar opposite. God didn't create two sides of life the same, that doesn't work. You have to have opposites to make things work. So understanding that acids in chemistry, we're taught this, that they're corrosive. We know they're corrosive. Mm-hmm. We know that you're taught, do not put your finger in battery acid. We're taught that. We know that that wouldn't be fun, right? Well, it wouldn't be fun to put your finger in hydrochloric acid either, and that's your stomach acid. That's not fun either because it breaks down tissue. Mm-hmm. Hydrochloric acid breaks down tissue, and that's 2 pH. Most chemotherapy is below 2 pH. Wait a minute. If hydrochloric acid is designed to break apart meat, what's that chemo doing to our tissue? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you only have 2 sides of chemistry. In the rationale of any diseases, in terms of medical thinking, they have to still rest those pillars of disease on the 2 sides of chemistry. That's why it's such a fallacy for that whole concept of diseases. Right. It's unbelievable. You only have these 2 pillars to understand in life, and you've got to understand them. And those 2 pillars create and make everything, atomically and everything. They from these 2 magnetic energies come subatomic particles, probably nano and subnano particles, then your subatomic particles, like your electrons and protons, then your atoms, then your elements, and then your structures. I mean, it's just all a building block. But it builds from 2 pillars. And understanding that the pillar of decay and atrophy and owie, hurt, pain, is the acid side predominantly. Acid ash forming diets are not the diets for most of the vertebrates on the planet. The only vertebrate that eats an acid ash diet is your cats. But if you look at the cat milk, where all the other milks in the vertebrates have carbon as the number 1 energy, cats have lipids as number 1 to protect the body from such a high protein consumption, because protein is on the acid side of chemistry. The acid side of chemistry is, when you look at the blood, is on the least side. It would be the little brother, where the electrolytes are the older sisters in chemistry. So when you look at this, man loves to eat acid ash forming foods. Those are foods that leave an acid kick in the body. You leave an acid kick in your body, now your body has to respond to that acid kick because acids are corrosive. So how does when you eat meats and you eat pasteurized dairies and grains, most grains are acid ash foods, these are acid ash foods. And when your body not only has the mucus hiccup on those, but it also leaves an acid ash. And now this acid creates inflammation. Another word for inflammation, you just use the word acidosis. Acidosis, depending on the pH, makes the immune response. Remember, the body is nothing but a bunch of cells and 2 major fluids. That's it. A bunch of cells, all making structure function, and then you have 2 fluids to take care of them. It's that simple. Now you got water. We can add that as a fluid, but that's not really a fluid. What is water? The universal solvent. Mm-hmm. That's why you see edema when you see saturation. When you see agglomulation, then you see water coming in to try to break it apart. It's the natural process. When you look at this, you'll understand what causes all man's suffering, and it has nothing to do with this ridiculous concept of diseases. This is chemistry and physics at play here in your life, and you're creating everything that's happening to you. You just don't realize it.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. We need to understand there's acid ash forming foods and there's alkaline ash forming foods. You want an alkaline is an electrolyte hit, is a hydrating hit. Acid hit is a dehydrating hit, an agglomulation hit. Mm-hmm. Well, after years of that, the World Health Organization has said after years of diets of acid ashes, number 1 cause of colon cancer. They're not looking at, which we can safely say, the number 1 cause of kidney failure. Mm-hmm. Same thing. So when you get agglomerated, not only are you agglomerated in the kidneys, right where you said, capillaries, lymph nodes, all these areas become locked because the kidneys stop filtering. Mm-hmm. There could be other reasons. We know the adrenals control that. The adrenals go down in people as well. So these 2 tissues, the adrenal, the gland that controls the organ, the kidneys, they both are down.
And how strong you are genetically tells you how long it's going to take for you to start feeling some of those symptoms.
Yep. Absolutely.
So you can have 2 different people who have the same issue, got excellent genes, one's got poor genes, and the one that's got poor genes is going to feel it a lot sooner than the one that's got.
And someone say, well, I eat bad and I'm 100 years old. You eat like you eat the same thing I do, and you're real sick at what's going on. And just what you said, there's a huge difference between what your mother's lymph system was at birth, what you get your mother's lymph system, so whatever it looks like, and some people get a mess. And then you've got the genetic weaknesses of tissue, and the more genetic weakened the cells are in the body, the structure function is down. So then, just like you said, you throw acid hit on a strong genetic cell and an acid hit on a weak genetic cell. I'll tell you what's going to happen to the weak genetic cell. It's going atypical and into a cancer cell quick. So if you're diagnosed with this word cancer, know this, that this is an area of the body where the lymph system is backed up. When the lymph system backs up, let's use the word interstitial. What's the word interstitial mean to you guys? The word interstitial means that Marcy and I are sitting here talking to you, but we're not sitting on top of each other. We're sitting beside each other, and we got air moving between us, space between us. And that's every cell, including bone cells, have that. Every cell stands in their own space. Now, blood cells can start sticking. When you vary at that pH and no enzymes, you get blood cells sticking, I agree. But cells and tissues and stuff are separate. But this space around us is how blood and sewer, that's how we get fed. You know, if I'm a cell in the liver and I'm going, hey, honey, I'm hungry. Excuse me a minute, I'll be right back. I'm going to go to the kitchen. I can't get out, I'm stuck. How do you feed your cells? How do you get rid of the waste that they're producing? How do you do that? That's the universal question. Well, what's this interstitial spaces full of? 20 to 25% blood, 80% lymph. What does that tell you? You've got a kitchen and you've got a bathroom involvement around a cell. That's the only thing involved around a cell, except for the lymph system starts piling up these acids, not only from the cell, but the blood has a tendency to dump itself into the lymph system as well.
If you set your trash outside and didn't come back for a week and just let it sit there, you're going to start having germs and smells and maggots and you name it. Worms, whatever's around there. That same thing happens inside the body in different forms, but it still happens. And think about this. The hotter you are, guess what else can fuse in the body? I just read about this the other day. Lymph nodes can cluster and get fused together.
Well, think about that. Same thing as endometriosis. Endometriosis will weld the uterus to the bowel wall.
Exactly.
I mean, acids are welding. They're agglomerating. Everything is sticking and hardening, and I just I can't imagine in this day that a medical doctors think man is in some kind of ridiculous alkalosis syndrome. It's a failure of biochemistry to be truthful in its theories, because it's ridiculous theory. It doesn't hold any water with that. When you look at that,
when you think of the only ways that you can alkalize is through the food you eat, the air you breathe, the water you drink, the thoughts that you have.
There you go.
You know,
there you go.
Things like this.
There you go.
Stuff you put on your skin.
There you go.
There's far more of that. We're not all putting in a good diet. You know, the standard American diet, most people aren't even eating anything close to an alkaline diet. We're definitely not breathing in alkaline air. At least the majority of us aren't. We're not drinking alkaline water like we thought we should, as far as
So we're doing. We're not eating alkaline electrolytes in our food. So where are you? And you're not. That's the point.
So where are you getting the over alkalinity that is supposed to quote unquote be out there?
That's it. And if you look at that, alkaline is the dominant principle on this planet. It has to be. If acids are dominating, what's the acids? Corrosive. Corrosive. You can't handle corrosiveness. It'll rip your skin off of you. It'll burn you. That's what acids burn. Oh, ow. How many of you feel burning and hot inside of you? And yet you're cold from a low thyroid gland. You know, it's that sort of thing. But understand that you only have two sides of chemistry out there. And when you have the backing up, the kidneys stop filtering this sewage, these acids out of your tissue, it backs up. You get swelling then. What does everybody have? Swelling of the ankle, swelling of this, swelling, edema, right? Well, that's to try to protect the cell, because here I am a cell. The spaces around me now are getting agglomerated with my own waste and the waste from my buddies around me. All these acids that I'm trying to get rid of now are building up around me. I have HDL in my wall, right? High density lipid, cholesterol, making up the phospholipid chain in my wall to protect me. You can't get me, right? But there's a point when this agglomeration ceases to allow cells to eliminate their waste. Now you have intracellular acidosis. Now you're going to see mutation of the DNA, the chromosome, you name it. The organelles of the cell are going to be the blowback to the inside of the cell. That's when a pathologist says, well, that's an atypical cell. Oh no, that's a cancer cell. A cancer cell is just an advanced cell of decay. That's all it is. We call it atrophy or decay in our world. They call it cancer in their world.
Yeah.
But notice that's only around where that is agglomerated. The trouble is, the lymph system is from head to toe. So when one kidney stops filtering, you start backing up from head to toe. The weaker areas is where you see those cells going over the top. Doesn't mean your whole body is getting ravaged with these cells that are being damaged, just those areas where it's highly agglomerated. That people die from the treatment of that, not from the cancer of that. If a tumor, now all this swelling can form a tumor, right? So if a tumor is around interstitial, it's around the cells, right? This tumor starts closing off everything and locking it off. I go in there and I punch that locked tumor, that locked closet. It's locked, right? The body, nature locked it, right? It's okay, it's locked. I go in and I punch that open and see if I can find a cell in there that's a cancer cell, which any cell in there is going to be broken down. That's acid sludge. It's going to break down a cell. Of course it can have a cancer cell in it. Who cares? Who cares if there's a cancer cell in that tumor or not?
You got to get rid of it anyway.
You got to get rid of it anyway. It doesn't matter. The only way it is a benign tumor if it's on the outside of tissue. There's no tissue to be on, but it doesn't matter. Same problem. It's just a matter of time with the other one.
You rip that open, you allow that leakage, all that sewage running out into
right
your
back
system.
into the same sewage that's already backed up. So now you got a bigger swelling, more growth, more everything, and then they keep trying to attack it with more acids, which is creating a greater agglomeration. Things are expressing it more, and then suddenly, oh, it moved over here. Oh, it's over here. And they tell you your cancer's moving. They're the ones burning you, and your cancer's moving. Like these cells have some consciousness. I'm damaged. I'm dying. Let me come over here and get my other buddies. I mean, it's all stupidity at the highest order. And if you buy into that, you could be your life and your suffering. Absolutely. That's the problem. And just understand that there's two sides of chemistry, and that each cell stands alone, and there's spaces in between them. These spaces have blood and lymph. And when that lymph deals with the acid side of chemistry, the blood, the base, what happens if your blood gets acidic? We know, don't we? So does a lot of people.
You don't have a long time.
You don't have a lot of time. You have 3 minutes, if you're lucky, maybe 4, but 3 minutes to be going, I'm in trouble. So, if you're in a fire and you're breathing smoke, if you could have an alkalizer with it, you wouldn't die. And if smoke was alkaline, you wouldn't die. But smoke is acidic.
And the reason why the medical profession hasn't caught on to the whole kidney connection thing yet, you would think that they would, but let's say that you've got a tumor in your cervix, okay? You eliminate waste in a few ways. Bowels, bowl, bowels, urinary, kidney and adrenals, lymph, lungs, and skin. Those are the primary ways. All right? Well, you got this tumor in the cervix. I'm sorry, but you're not going to be pooping it out. Lungs, you're not going to be, oh, there's my tumor.
Cervical tumor.
Exactly.
Now, a lung tumor you could.
Yeah. Skin, it's not just automatically going to pop out and be done with it. Unless, of course, you got some strong black salve and we want to know about it.
Yeah, yeah.
You've got, basically, your lymph and your kidney system that's going to be dealing with that. And yet they don't even make those connections.
They don't even make the connections.
So it's no wonder that they don't think that people can cure of tumors and things like that, because they don't understand the breakdown of those and the elimination through what the body should normally do.
Now, I'm going to beat up our side, too, because the naturopaths are just as bad. These guys are just as bad. They don't understand the lymph system. They were trained that way. They were trained more medical thinking. And now, let's everybody be trained in medical thinking. They don't know what causes any of man's suffering, so they created this illusionary concept of diseases. These guys are dangerous as hell because they treat what they don't understand. And a lot of people die or get severely maimed using pharmaceuticals. So
And the sad thing is, the last 5 people that I've talked to that were recommended to a naturopath, the naturopath recommended more meat.
Oh, wow.
More supplements.
Wow.
Probiotics.
Yeah.
And digestive enzymes.
Yep, sad. Isn't that sad?
Everything that we should be against.
Exactly. And how sad is that? Because the only people I see getting the curing out there are those guys. Mm-hmm. Our groups out there are curing people like crazy.
Yep.
And these other naturopaths that went to school, these medical doctors went to school, are sitting there with eggs on their face going, and we've got people out here that are housewives curing their babies of all kinds of things. Mm-hmm. Dads curing their kids and their families of things. It's amazing what's going on out there. And yet all these physicians who had all the study of the body and had all this are sitting there and they don't even know. And they're part of the problem, not part of this remedy. They're part of the problem. They're recommending more acid ash diets. They don't understand anything. What their understanding is shallow. Really don't need much, to be honest with you. What we're talking about is simply understanding the 2 sides of chemistry, the effect 2 sides of chemistry can have on you, the fact that the foods that have alkaline ash foods are the foods more designed for the humans, actually designed for all the vertebrates. Those are the fruits, those are the berries, those are the melons, those are the vegetables. Those are your alkaline ash forming foods. Just about everything else is acid ash forming. Now, raw milk from the mother is going to be alkaline ash forming. Cook it, and that shows you cooking is adding heat. Well, what are you doing? You're adding acid to the mix. So acids suck the electrolytes out of base. Mm-hmm. That's ionization. So that when you cook, you're sucking your electrolytes out. You're making an agglomerated mess.
Yeah.
But that's what you're doing when you're cooking.
And then destroying the enzymes.
Well, that's a whole thing, and then nothing can break down anymore. Because the same thing's going on in your body when you eat that agglomerated mess. Mm-hmm. Notice how when you eat fruits, it feels clean. It leaves you clean. You pee clean. You poop clean. But when you eat the agglomeration, it leaves you agglomerated. So it's easy to understand these 2 sides of chemistry and how they impact our lives. Because if you don't start from that, if you live in this pseudo concept of diseases, you will live in a world of fear, uncertainty. You will lose your power, your warriorness to be your own director of your own journeys. So you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But when you're diagnosed with the word cancer, that just means you have a cell, whether it's in a tumor or not, that's been damaged by acids. We call that decay or atrophy. They use the word cancer in modern times to bring fear to you. And the death from that is simply 99% cancer treatments. Mm-hmm. You don't treat an acid condition with that. Let me ask the ladies out there who have a lot of fibromyalgia and lupus and Lyme, same thing, systemic acidosis. What happens when your periods comes on? You feel worse? You feel pain more when your period starts? Absolutely do. And the reason? Estrogen. It's acidic. It's not a big acid that'll rip you apart, but it is an acid. Mm-hmm. And so acid on top of acid just makes you have more acid. And that, of course, brings the agglomeration and the pain and that sort of thing. You have to understand there are some beneficial acids. But if you're living in acid land and you're talking about systemic acids, you're talking about 3 pH acids, that's important to understand. Now, another thing that's important to understand here in this understanding of cancer, also in lupus and Lyme's, most of you that suffer with these levels have used antibiotics in your life, or your mother did. Because what happens when you kill systemic bacteria, if you notice when you go to the emergency room, and we'll spend a lot of years in them, antibiotics are just so frequently used. Now they're saying everybody back up because you could get, what do you call it, you might not be effective anymore.
Right.
How stupid. It's so true. Not only that, but why are you trying to kill bacteria in the first place? This is a very dangerous practice the AMA has initiated. They sit on the pillars of antibiotics thinking that's their wonder drug that they found and have and cure. It is one of the worst things they've ever designed. They can use antibiotics to make acute conditions disappear, and they think, oh, this is great. No, you suppress these acute conditions, my friends. You didn't cure anything. Plus, bacteria is not after your cells. If bacteria was designed to consume your cells of your body, why do you have macrophages in the lymph nodes with the bacteria? Would you answer that for me? Because the bacteria doesn't go after cell particles. It goes after that's what macrophages are doing. You have to feed them.
Yeah.
So there are cells that are cannibals. They're designed to phagocyze or to break down other cells. But the bacteria is designed for what? The sewage. So realize that medical doctors are so freaked out on things they don't understand.
Yeah.
But sewage flows around every cell in your body. So if you get bacteria interstitial, that's why there's not bacteria interstitially. Your bacteria is strictly limited to the lymph nodes in very few choice places. That keeps down the roar. Because your interstitial spaces are full of sewage.
Yeah.
And you'll literally have bacteria all through the body going crazy after it. So it's confined basically to lymph nodes, bowels, a few places like that, to help eat the sewage. That's what they're for, but they're not there to eat your cells. But you weaken a cell, I don't care what, you weaken anything in nature then attacks that weakness.
Yeah.
And you have to understand, I've taught this for years, the strong survive, the weak are consumed, literally. If you're a mama bird and you've got a nest of babies and one of them's weak, out it goes, and the mother bird isn't caring one way or another. Oh, there's my precious baby. No, because that baby will not survive nature. You know, anybody weak does not survive well. You notice that? I want to make sure that this video helps you guys to understand the idiocy of the medical thinking of cancer and the fear. If you let this fear keep you from doing something, then we have pictures to show you how bad acids can take your body down.
Yeah.
This is no joke to this. Acids will literally chew your tissue into hamburger and to your death. There's no question about that. Mm-hmm. Acids will bring you to your death. That's what it always does. Acidosis is what kills you at one level or another.
Right.
And kidney failure is the #1 cause of people's death on this planet. I don't know if you know that. And when they understand the link kidney has to everything, you will find that kidney failure and lack of filtration is the death of everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
One level or another.
And a cancer cell, if you look at, just Google any cancer cell under a microscope, surrounded and loaded with mucus.
I wish I had your cells. I probably do in one of these drawers.
Probably. But it's just loaded and covered in mucus, which means that the enzymes that have to penetrate that cell to break it down just slide right off. And
also, it means that mucus is there because of a protein, because of an acid. Alkalis don't initiate mucosa.
Exactly.
So a mucosic response is, again, an acid response again. So you got the acid, you've got the mucosic response of mucus, then whatever chemistry that responded to, and then you got the cell.
Yep.
So
doctors call it MUC1. They're trying to find a pill that will detox or remove the mucus. That's why we detox. We detox for a couple of reasons. We detox to clean, we detox to rest, we detox to heal, which you have to have all three of those to heal. And some people detox for spiritual reasons. But the majority of it is for the cleaning aspect. Well, you have to clean that mucus off of those cancer cells so that your bodies can go then in and break those down and eliminate them the way that they're supposed to.
We need a new pharmaceutical. We need a new pharmaceutical that will take off of this micron plaque. I mean, it's like, oh my God. So let's say you have all this plaque. It comes from the acid side of chemistry. How do you find remedy? You simply walk across the street to the other side of chemistry and open that door. There's only two sides. You only have two sides of chemistry to play with. So are you going to stay over here on the acid side, or are you just going to simply walk over here side and open the alkaline door? That's all we're doing is putting you on an alkaline ash diet that's living, that has enzymatic action to it. Cancer is just one of the words that mean the same thing as every other disease you can name has the same profile. Has exactly the same profile. It's the level, it's the location, and the amount. But it all has the same profile. It's all acidosis. There's alkalosis, but it's short-term and easily rectified. If you look at the majority, life breaks down to acidosis. In your healing, what we see of those of you that struggle the most, you're in your own way.
Yep.
When you understand that there's cells being damaged in your body, the medical doctor said you have cancer, you understand that your lymph is backed up and acidosis is chewing on you, you have only one way to go. get in line with that, go for it, get it done, and go on. But most people sit back and bitch. They don't want to do the diet. One lady's got a cancer now. She's been, I've been on your herbs off and on for a couple of years, but you didn't do the diet. We have people watching you go in and having ribs and everything else. And so we know all of that. So it's like, come on. So when you find out that you have an agglomulation, a tumor, or you have cells being broken down from that, pull yourself back out of that agglomerated mess through changing your diet. Number one, essential. You don't change your diet, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Because
I've talked with numerous people over the last couple of weeks that they're 100% raw, but you start talking to them down in other areas and you're finding out about the breads, and you're finding out about the beans and the things that they eat, the salads. Yeah, salads you can eat raw, but when we suggest going 100% fruits for a time, that doesn't mean green drinks and salads. Yeah. So you have to understand where you are in this thing and how you do. I mean,
well, all right. So why would we take you, someone that comes in here and says, "Look, I got a tumor in my lung." Why would we say, go on a grape juice diet? Why would we tell you that? To some people, they go, "What? Why would you? This guy's got a big tumor. Why would you tell him to eat grapes for?" Why? Why do we recommend grapes? Why do we recommend fruits, berries, and melons? First of all, try detoxifying your body. In other words, detoxifying is an alkaline process. Yep. Detoxifying is a hydrating process. Detoxifying is a process that loosens up hardened tumors and masses and opens up the doorway of elimination. That's what detoxification is. If you have a tumor, the pathway of that tumor, as Marcy said, is either through the kidneys or you're going to sweat it out. Now, if you get too aggressive, we have had the skin open up and tumors pop through the skin. But you'll leak vaginally, you'll leak through the mouth, you'll leak in the ears, you'll leak in the corner of the eyes, you'll leak in the belly button, you'll leak in between the toes, you'll leak in between the groin area, you'll leak. Wherever you see the lymph nodes, you'll leak. I mean, that your body's trying to get rid of. Where would the medical doctors ever think you need to stop that?
Yeah.
And lock everything into the human body? That's the problem. We need to get it out of the human body. You don't lock sewage into your house. Right. You get it out of your house.
Right.
It's a fallacy beyond belief.
You have a mold issue in your house and you lock that house up, boy, let me tell you.
No.
Let me tell you, you've got some real problems.
Well, that's what happens. When your house is locked up, you get mold. What happens when the body gets locked up? It gets mold. Same thing.
Exactly.
We just like to call it candida and fungus and blame it for everything. Mm-hmm. And it's just that we created that atmosphere, that acidic, dark atmosphere in there, that grows. And then, of course, we don't break down carbon properly because there goes the adrenals. So now you got all this carbon there that you're going to get mold and fungus for it. So it's just a nightmare. And if you guys get this, you win the day. Because most of you, 99% of you can win the day. There's going to be a couple of people that tune in here that your time is here.
Never get caught up in going after the symptom. Always go after the system.
Yep. Always go after the cause of everything. Never treat the symptom, because then you're shortchanging yourself. You're on the losing stick of that, because you're the one that has to experience with this body you have. Either you've got a nice, clean, healthy body that has no pain in it and is very flexible and limber, or you've got a stiff, ow, ooh, ow, body, and that's not fun.
Ask yourself why until you can't answer that question anymore.
Exactly.
I've got fibromyalgia. Why?
What is that? Yeah.
Exactly.
The problem is, if you look to the medical explanation, it only takes you to a world of I don't know. So let's look beyond that. You're going to look to the world of chemistry. You're looking for people that might have the answer. Look to the sciences. Look more to the sciences, because no one has the answer for you, obviously. We do.
Yeah.
We do, but we go to the sciences to explain it to you. Our theory in applied works. Their theory applied only kills and maims. So,
well, even acidosis is an answer, isn't the last why there is. Why am I acidic inside? Is it my eating? Is it my sleeping habits? Is it my stress around me? Is it
my attitude?
Exactly. Is it all the antibiotics that I've been taking? Is it this, and this? There's always a why, and figure out how to get to that.
If you kill the bacteria in your body, who's breaking down your waste, your acids?
Exactly.
And when you're not breaking down acids, they're 3 pH. And so people with arthritis, I feel so sorry for them because they're feeling their arthritis, they're feeling their 3 pH.
Yep.
There's nobody to help them. And the agglomerated lymph, there's no way to take, and this is another point, when you have cells that are damaged, the lymphocytes, they take these cells to the lymph nodes. You have cells that will, here buddy, I'm taking you to a lymph node, it's time for your demise, right? So they're going to take it to the lymph nodes where the macrophage, you don't put macrophages in tissue. Not a good idea. So you keep them in. You keep them in the lymph nodes. You know, these are your cannibals. See, so you want to keep them in their corrals, and that's in those lymph nodes, right? So you take a damaged.
Put them on their own special island.
Yeah, especially on their own little island. There you go. And so you want to take a cell to them. Here you go. Here's your food. Phew, you know, and then they'll break down that cell. But if you don't have the bacteria to break down these acids, you're feeling 3 pH. You're feeling a lot of pain. And that's the problems with antibiotics. The problem in man isn't bacterial, and if it is, that means your sewer system's a mess. Then you go after your sewer system, you don't go after bacteria. That's where man's fallacy has always been. You can't clean yourself enough.
Yeah.
So don't be too complex with it, guys. Have fun with this. Lose your fears if you're dealing with this. Understand you're dealing with the lymph system. If you fear anything, fear agglomerated, hardened, or decayed lymph nodes.